Hey, it's Tuesday at 2:26. That's what the show's called, right? Tuesday at 2:26. Rolls right off the tongue. Steve Post from Motor Racing Network. So glad you've joined us here as we talk racing. And yes, I said that as we talk racing. That's what we're going to do. A little bit of a change here. Now, if you've been following our social media channels, my main man Jonathan has been here doing some auctions. And so, in fact, the next one is coming up at 3 o'clock Eastern time, assuming I get out of here and don't start yapping for the next 32 minutes. Okay. So, so we're going to do more of the diecast talk with Jonathan. He knows far more about die. You know me. I have no idea. When's the Casey Kane Farmers Insurance car come? I have no idea. I should have asked Jonathan. So you can deal with Jonathan, and he's got auction. I'm actually looking at it. He's got some great things coming up. So we'll talk to him here in just a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk more racing here with my portion on the Tuesday at 2, something I know a little bit about and get a chance to cover for Motor Racing Network. So if you have racing questions right now, I mean, drop everything right now, type in your racing question and we will talk. James is in the house along with Scott. Ryan wants to be approved for the Circle B group, so we'll make sure we work on that as well. Derek is here, Dustin is here, and Ryan, a different Ryan is here. And yes, Ryan, I am doing well. You happy that Denny won? How about that race at Richmond? Okay. I love what we have going on in NASCAR this year. First 6 weeks, the racing has been dynamic. They've been in each other's faces. They've been on each other's bumpers and fenders. It's been wild, okay? Richmond was significantly different. And it turned out to be a strategy race, which happens a lot of times at Richmond because of tire wear and lack of cautions, okay? My opinion on Richmond is I loved it. Now, I don't want a steady diet of strategy races. In fact, we can get one at Pocono maybe later on this year and maybe Richmond again. I'll be good. But I love a good strategy race. Now, my perspective is different as well. I'm on pit road with MRN scanning and talking to teams. And so strategy races are busy. I literally got done. I'm like, oh my God, my mind with numbers and laps and pit stops and everything. But I love doing that. And I love strategy racing. And to your point up there, Ryan, Denny Hamlin, not only the best strategy, and they did have the best strategy, but was really good to see Denny Hamlin have that speed that we expect Denny Hamlin to have. And he had that speed all over the course of that race. You put that speed with Denny's incredible talent, particularly at Richmond, and the winning strategy and that race car, and you have the combination that makes Denny Hamlin our 7th winner this season. 7 for 7 on the season, and Denny for the 4th time, I think 47th career win, 4th time, he is a winner at Richmond. So, Ryan, I know you're happy about that, and I know a whole lot of people are happy about it. And yeah, you can get the race-winning diecast at Circle B Diecast as well. So it is fun stuff. It really is a great weekend of NASCAR racing. Again, I know some people are like, oh, the race was this, oh, the race was that. I find strategy races 2 or 3 times a year to be fantastic. And boy, we had a doozy. We really did. It was great. So, yeah, so congratulations. Good to see Harvick back up there. Good to see Martin Truex Jr. running at the front of the field as well. And I think an attaboy needs to go to William Byron as well. He's not one of the old guys. He's not one of the Richmond guys we expect to run good. He wheeled that car really, really well. William Byron's a fascinating story, and I'll actually talk a little bit about that. One of the things William's been doing, and you know the local races are near and dear to my heart, William has been racing a super late model car a lot this year. He raced down at New Smyrna a couple weeks ago. He won over at Hickory Motor Speedway. And I asked him in our pre-race coverage on Motor Racing Network, I said, you know, an old worn out racetrack, how do you approach an old worn out racetrack? And he said, that's one of the reasons that I'm going and running my super late model at tracks is to get better at old worn out racetracks. He won that race at Hickory, which is an old worn out racetrack, a couple of weeks ago. And he was really, really good managing that race car. So an attaboy, I know they're racing for wins, not attaboys, but an attaboy for William Byron. What a run. And his strategy came about 4 laps shy of being the race-winning strategy. So fun stuff it really was, and good stuff, that's for sure. It is good. All right, Ryan also, different, we have got, is this Ryan Day? We've got 3 Ryans. You know, so Ryan, what are your thoughts of Kyle Busch running tape on the vent? Should that have been a penalty? My understanding is that the penalty was he had to come down and fix it. And the timing with the pit stops and the pit sequences, it wasn't much of a penalty. They probably altered their strategy a little bit and came down and fixed it. Boy, that is a can of worms. I don't know. Part of me is the new rule this year is no tape on the grill. You can put tape over on the brake ducts, but no tape on the grill at all. Period. End of discussion. The team accidentally got tape on the grill. That's their story. Okay. NASCAR saw it, assessed it, looked through the video, penalized them, black flagged them. They came down, did a pit stop that was within one of the various sequence of pit strategies, and they went back out. Bob Pockris, who covers the sport for Fox Sports, he attributes it, I don't know, those of you who've been around remember, you remember when the crew member used to go out there and he used to, boom, give a little hip check to the side of the car. NASCAR would make them come in, or remember when they would, the skirts, where the jackman would accidentally get the skirt under it and wedge it up. NASCAR in situations like that used to simply make them come down and fix it. So whatever it took you to do it. My hunch is that's what the story is with Kyle Busch as far as the penalty goes. Should it be more? We can debate that all along. I don't know. I'll tell you though, nobody wants a black flag in the middle of the race, and there will probably not be people accidentally putting tape on the grills anymore. So I don't know. I never really live much in the should it be more, should it be less category, and that's with all sports. I don't know. I think that's the way NASCAR sees it. That's my read on it. And my opinion, they probably tried something, and maybe they got away with it for a while, but with all the eagle eyes and cameras around a racetrack, they finally got caught. Or, in complete honesty, it might have been a spotter narking. Yes, it might have been a spotter narking. They've been known to do that. So I don't know, Ryan. I don't know. We'll have to stay tuned. My hunch is that the penalty was the black flag and having to come down and fix the problem. So that's my hunch. There you go. Joel, I'm glad to see the playing field level and the underdog teams are doing great. Joel, I think that is awesome, and I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed the 3 first-time winners with Austin Cindric and with Chase Briscoe and with Ross Chastain. I've enjoyed that. I think we had the field being leveled up until Richmond, and I think Richmond unleveled the field to more veteran drivers that are good at Richmond. So I'm not sure what Martinsville is going to be. Is it going to be a leveler or an unleveler? We'll have to see. I'm with you on that, though, Joey. I really like this year. This year's been fun. Catching new people in victory lane, watching new people up front. It's been fun. I had a crew chief for one of those teams that is good, better this year compared to everyone else. And he said, I'm going to be honest with you. And he nodded his head toward the 18 car. And he said, if you think that bunch and their teammates, meaning Denny Hamlin, who's 22nd points mark, if you think they're going to flounder around back here all year, you've lost their mind. They will get to the front of the field. Denny won the race the next day after that conversation. Martin was in the hunt as well. So enjoy it. Stay tuned. Now, to me, it's incumbent. I think where it gets fascinating is, let's use Ross Chastain, for instance. He is one of those underdog teams that is running up front. Now, to me, where this gets interesting is, can they stay there? Can they continue to do what they need to do over the course of a short track at Richmond, a short track at Martinsville, a short track at Bristol, a super speedway at Talladega, the Monster Mile at Dover, where those teams that are bigger have all of the engineering support and all of the resources. Now, so far so good for Ross Chastain. We'll see what happens. But Joel, I think it's been great. I think it's fantastic for sure. Derek says you should have been at Bristol for the Dirt Nationals. Derek, I wish I was at Bristol for the Dirt Nationals. I wish I was at South Boston for the Smart Modified Tour. I wish I was at Devil's Bowl in Texas for the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars. I wish I was at the Stockton Dirt Track for the King of the West Sprint Cars. I always wish I'm at a racetrack. So I was at Richmond for the Modifieds on Friday night, Richmond Saturday afternoon for the Xfinity Series, Dominion Raceway in just north of Richmond, Thornburg, on Saturday night for some NASCAR weekly racing, and Sunday afternoon Richmond Yes, I wish I could have been at Bristol, but I was perfectly content where I was at. I was at a racetrack. So I agree. Bristol looked awesome. Bristol's going to be good. Can't wait to see when the World of Outlaws get it there and how it's going. So were you there, Derek? That's the question. I know I was supporting my local racetrack. Were you there? Is the question. So Ryan says, and I'm glad you said that, Ryan. Ryan Clark says Byron is coming to Berlin twice this year. Yeah, the first one is the Show Me the Money 150. It's the Wednesday night after Gateway, before Sonoma, up at Berlin in Marne, Michigan. And yes, William Byron racing more races. I'm actually going to that one. I've never been to Berlin, and I'm going to head up. My buddy Jeff Striegel, my coworker from Motor Racing Network, is the general manager there. And so I'm going to actually check out Berlin and go forward. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Larry wants to know, do you have any information on North Wilkesboro? I heard they were trying to get new sewer lines to the track. You heard the same thing I did, Larry. The infrastructure there was terrible at best when it was up and running as a racetrack. So you can imagine it's sitting for 20 years. It didn't improve while it sat there. So my understanding is there's a lot of those infrastructure deal. I know there's a grant from the state of North Carolina that's going to help with some of that infrastructure cost. I know nothing other than what I see from things like Dale Jr.'s download and occasionally Marcus Smith, the track owner there with Speedway Motorsports. Here's the thing, Larry. If they're investing $1 in it to mow grass, or if they're investing $1 million in it to improve the sewer lines, something is happening there. My hunch, this is just intuition, they're not doing this for it to sit there as a vacant speedway, okay? And my other hunch is, it doesn't sound like it's going to be put on the market and sold. It sounds like it is going to be a speedway. So if my hunch is it's not going to be a vacant speedway, then, and it's going to be a speedway, it's going to be an active speedway. I don't know anything other than that, and that's just my hunch, but there's too much. I go back, and I probably said it here on our show last year, when Marcus Smith was on the Dale Jr. download, and they were wrapping up the conversation, he said, oh, there's one other thing. We're not done in North Wilkesboro yet. The bombshell, the North Wilkesboro bombshell, Marcus Smith with Speedway Motorsports is a smart man. He didn't say that and cause this firestorm to shut the joint down. Okay? Just did. So I don't have any details, any insight, Larry. I'm glad you brought it up. I could talk North Wilkesboro all the time. I am among the last people that left at that race that they had back there when, what was it, 96, I think it was. Was that the last cup race? Security had to come and throw me out of the parking lot when we were done. We were drinking beer and hanging out and partying, and we were some of the last people to leave there. I went there for a super late model race, saw Chase Elliott win a race years ago when it was reopened the first time. And I think that something's going on, Larry, at North Wilkesboro. So stay tuned. I want to go back to Richmond just a little bit further. We talked about the Cup race. Ty Gibbs scoring the victory, roughing up John Hunter Nemechek, his teammate in the Xfinity Series. Pretty wild stuff there. And Justin Bonsignor won the Modified Tour race as well. So a great weekend of racing as I put a bow around Richmond. A great, great weekend of racing. Joel, that's a great question. Joel Dupree has a question. Do you think crews going around the front will be a big story at more fuel-heavy races? Seems the faster without interrupting the fueling. Joe Gibbs Racing tried something new with their pit stops at Richmond. Joe Gibbs Racing tried something new with pit stops is not the first time. Remember back when we had the high-speed supersonic pit guns? That was Joe Gibbs Racing. A lot of the emphasis on athletes working on these cars is Joe Gibbs Racing. Joe Gibbs Racing is at the forefront of trying things. So what they did is usually the car comes in and two guys will go around the front, one will go to the back. They'll do the right side service. As they come around to the left side, the fuel guy comes out of the way, the tire changers come in and do the left sides. There's a couple of things going on. Joe Gibbs Racing, they had all three go around the front of the race car this week at Richmond. There's two things that this does, okay? That tire changer on the rear doesn't have to wait for the car to get into position and come around the back of the car and hook around. He can be there on his knees the moment that car stops. They can't leave until 2 pit boxes before, but he can be there ready to go. So there's a little quickness there. Then what happens is, and my buddy Alex Hayden with MRN called it the follow the leader pit stop. because they all run around in a circle following the leader to the right side of the car. They get done and they all follow the leader around to the left side of the car, and the fuel man can stay engaged the whole time. He doesn't have to step back and disengage the fuel can and put it back in. Your question, Joel, will be a big story, not interrupting the fueling. There's one thing that will never change in the way pit stops are done now, and that is the law of gravity. Fuel from the can to the fuel cell. You can get better times with pit stops. You can do better things as far as the techniques, the system, but no matter what happens, fuel is only going to pour so quickly or slowly, depending on what you call it, from that fuel cell down, from that fuel can down into that fuel cell. So your question seems faster without interrupting the fueling. I do think when we get to racetracks where full cans of fuel are important, that does become a better method of fueling the car, because you can only take, if you can change those tires in the same amount of time, and whether you do the old way or the new way, changing the tires is quicker than a full load of fuel. Old way, new way, hokey pokey, follow the leader, whatever you want to call it. The old way you could change the tires quicker than the fuel. You could only pour fuel so fast, but not interrupting that fuel flow when that tire carrier comes around the back of the car. And you think about it, you're there, 1,000, 1,000, boom, you're back in. That's probably 2 seconds. Shave 2 seconds off a pit stop and see what happens, and see where you come out of pit road. Save 1 second off a pit stop and see where you come out of pit road. Joel, I think you actually hit on the whole key to the Joe Gibbs pit stop, and the fact that it wasn't a disaster, the fact that it wasn't a train wreck, the fact that they didn't trip over their cables, the fact that they didn't trip over each other. I would be surprised if we don't see some other teams trying it. I don't know that it's going to be wholesale everybody doing it, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some other teams trying it. So I love that question. Great question, that's for sure. Ray Kane wants to know, will I be at Dega? You will be at Dega, and I can't wait. Patrick says short track racing. That's what happens. So John Hunter Nemechek shouldn't be mad at Ty Gibbs for moving him up the racetrack. You're absolutely right, Patrick. And if someone cuts in front of you and drops down to 15 miles per hour on the highway, don't be mad at him, okay? Or not on the highway, but on a city street. Yes, he should be mad. Now, I'm not saying it was a foul or an infraction, but he should be mad. But I agree with you, it's good short track racing. Both things can be correct. It is good short track racing, and John Hunter Nemechek can be mad. Both can be fine. So that's what it is. If someone steals something from you, you have every right to be pissed off. And that's what John Hunter Nemechek feels like something was done. Then you throw in the dynamic of teammate, grandson of owner, all of the other stuff. If John Hunter Nemechek is not pissed off, I'm wondering what's wrong with John Hunter Nemechek. And again, I don't think the move was all necessarily blatant. Now, what's Ty Gibbs' reaction when John Hunter Nemechek wears him out to get a win? Should Ty Gibbs be pissed off then? Yes, but it is what it is. So I agree with you. It is good short track racing. I disagree with you. John Hunter Nemechek should be pissed off, and both can be accurate and true and that sort of thing. But Patrick, and John Hunter Nemechek knew it was coming. All right, absolutely, he knew it was coming. Does that mean you're still not pissed off? We live in a world, Patrick, where everybody wants to either be offended or mad at somebody for being offended. You know what? In our world, sometimes people can piss you off, and it's all right to be pissed off. John Hunter Nemechek, it is all right for him to be pissed off, whether he knew it was coming or whether he didn't see it coming. Seeing it coming and knowing it coming doesn't matter. A teammate pushed and shoved him up the racetrack and took a win from him. It's all right. And I agree. And Patrick, I did agree with the front part of it. To me, that's short track racing. And to me, I saw it coming, and I'm sure John Hunter Nemechek saw it coming. Where I have the issue with you is, I don't think it's unfair for John Hunter Nemechek to be pissed off. That's where I have the disagreement. Everything else, I agree with you totally. And I love you like a brother, Patrick. You do have a good point, honestly. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right to have it be a perfectly legal move and someone to be pissed off. Okay, this goes back to COTA, okay? This goes back to COTA. We were all, oh my gosh, It was the greatest thing in the world that Ross Chastain did, wrecking Bowman and A.J. Allmendinger. That was the greatest thing in the world. And how dare A.J. Allmendinger be pissed off? These kids these days. This has nothing to do with these kids these days. This has everything to do with NASCAR racing. And this is why I love NASCAR racing, okay? Occasionally, someone will get wrecked going for the win, and occasionally a second place finisher, or in AJ's case, someone finished back in the field is going to be pissed off, okay? Last week, someone showed the video of Dale Earnhardt right hooking Darrell Waltrip up at Richmond, giving Kyle Petty his career first win. Darrell Waltrip had every reason to be pissed off. That has nothing to do with the kids these days, okay? The 1979 Daytona 500, Cale and Donnie coming down the backstretch, running each other to the grass, wrecking, getting out and fighting with each other. Well, that's not the kids these days. That's Cale and Donnie getting out and fighting. Bobby decided he likes to fight. He got right in the middle of it as well. 1976 Daytona 500, Richard Petty and David Pearson wrecking each other the entire last lap to win the Daytona 500. People wrecking each other for the wins is nothing new in NASCAR, and people being pissed off after losing a NASCAR race is nothing new in NASCAR. It's not the kids these days. It's not these kids being, get off my lawn, you kids. It is NASCAR racing. Dale Earnhardt, Ricky Rudd, North Wilkesboro. They were all pissed off after that one. Perfectly fine. You want to talk about North Wilkesboro history and show us highlight films? We're going to show that highlight film of Rudd wrecking Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt, Terry Labonte at Bristol. I just tried to rattle his cage. Terry Labonte was pissed off afterward, okay? Jeff Gordon, how many times did he get in the back of Rusty Wallace at Bristol? So it's not the kids these days. It's what we love about this. And sometimes it's our guy that's pissed off, and I hate that, okay? That's what we love these days. So back to the point, John Hunter Nemechek has every right to be pissed off, every right to be pissed off. Ty Gibbs did what he needed to do to win the race. Both can be true. Absolutely. Joel says, John did handle it well on TV, better than, yeah, Joel, I'm with you there. I am with you there. I'll tell you what, John Hunter Nemechek, he did better than I would have done. I'd have been in there strangling the coach's kid is where I'd have been. And I don't think that makes for necessarily good TV or job security when we're all trying to get a job with Joe Gibbs Racing. So it is good. It is good. It's really good. AJ wants to know, do you think Ty Gibbs should have spent a year in the trucks before Xfinity Series? Why? He's won 3 times in the Xfinity Series. No. He might have should have gone to Cup. I mean, you know, no, I mean, maybe that's stepping it. No. This is another thing. We live in this world, okay? He should have done a year in the Truck Series, or he should have done this. Jimmy Johnson should have stayed in the Xfinity Series as bad as he was in Xfinity Series racing. 1 win. Jimmy Johnson was known in the Xfinity Series for going headfirst into the wall down at Watkins Glen. That was the highlight film of Jimmy Johnson. I think that move to Cup, only after 1 win in the Xfinity Series, worked out pretty good for Jimmy Johnson. I think Ty Gibbs sitting here with 3 wins in 7 races has worked out pretty good for Ty Gibbs. You know, I mean, they haven't ran that many races in the Truck Series, or they have ran, I think, 3 races. So, no, I don't think Ty Gibbs. I think in many instances, the ladder process is good. But I don't think you have to do the ladder process. Look at this. Oh, my gosh. I just talked about this. I talked about this a little bit ago. I said, Jonathan's going to be up at 3 o'clock doing an auction unless I talk myself right straight through it. Blah, blah, blah. The questions have been great. We're going to start doing this. This portion of our social media, my portion of it is going to be, let's do like we did today. Because I'm telling you what, I loved it. I absolutely love talking NASCAR racing. And it's a whole lot better than I don't know when your Casey Kane autographed Farmers Insurance car is going to be in. Okay? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know that I know the answer to these NASCAR questions, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about it. So it is great. Jonathan, get in here. Don't trip over things. This is Jonathan.
What's up?
What do you got? Good. What do you got going on at 3 o'clock? What's happening?
We got almost, I think, 25 cars going to go up for auction.
25 cars for auction. We're going to bid them up and ship them out the door, right?
Yep, that is the plan.
That is cool. Now, we're not going to do this just today. You're going to be doing this over the course of time right here on Circle B and Plan B's Facebook page, right?
Yep, probably about 4 to 5 times a week.
Look at that, folks. You on Diecast. Jonathan is the man. How about that? So that's what you need to do. We're going to Martinsville this week. I didn't even preview Martinsville. We've got Millbridge Wednesday night, Trucks in Martinsville on Thursday night, Xfinity in Martinsville Friday night, Cup in Martinsville Saturday night, Smart Modifieds at Franklin County on Sunday afternoon. So I have got a great weekend. Jonathan's going to take over here at 3 o'clock and do some auctions and sell some goods and give you the best deals on Diecast. So whether it's in Jonathan's auction or you just need something off the website, you can find it all at www.circlebdiecast.com. I'm the Postman. We'll talk to you next week on our Tuesday at 2:26 show or whatever we're going to call it. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for joining us.